Honourable
Just
Senators,
full of goodwill.
I rise today to speak to Bill C-28, an act to amend the Criminal Code, Self-Induced Extreme Intoxications. Senators, I have to say to you that I'm very concerned with the process we have followed on C-28. This is such an important issue in criminal law. But I also understand that because of the big gap that we currently have in the criminal law as a result of the recent Supreme Court decisions in Brown and Sullivan, I understand we have to act quickly, and I accept that. Senator Gold, I have one request of you, that if the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee will study C-28, which I have no doubt we will, and provide recommendations to the Senate and Justice Minister, the Justice Minister will take our recommendations seriously and respond to us in the time we've set aside, and then hopefully if there are any recommendations, we'll implement them. Honourable Senators, I had a much longer speech, but in respect of my colleagues and everybody who is able to speak, I will just raise a few issues that I seriously think need looking at. And maybe the committee will, perhaps the committee will not agree with me, but these are, we do not know, and I ask the minister as well, we do not know what negligence looks like for extreme intoxication. Senators Carter, Simons, and I asked this question to Minister Lametti when he was here, and I must admit that I did not find his answer very his answer satisfactory. For example, what do we do with young adults and teenagers who might not know their tolerance? Would we exonerate all of them under the defense of extreme intoxication because they could not be negligent? Must the accused know their own limits to be negligent? Secondly, we do not know whether the burden to prove negligence for extreme intoxication is appropriate. If Bill C-28 passes, the Crown will need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that there was negligence on the part of the defendant. However, as Senator Boisvenu pointed out, that the most likely will lead to a battle between expert witnesses. How will a jury or even a judge answer to these incredibly hard questions? Thirdly, we do not know if we should or we should not add a presumption in Bill C-28 that alcohol alone cannot cause extreme intoxication. As such, we are applying a defense which has now lost its context. Senators, there are many questions that the committee will look at, I'm sure. But what will it take before the courts to prove negligence in reaching a state of extreme self-induced intoxication? How will the prosecutor be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the accused was negligent in not objectively foreseeing that his consumption would lead to extreme intoxication and to harm? Especially for young adults that do not know their limits, how will negligence be applied? Senators, I have heard so much this evening and throughout the debate that we must fill the gap. Women's groups want this. First of all, I respectfully say to you, women's groups are not a homogeneous group. Some women's groups want it. It's not a homogeneous group. Secondly, as a young lawyer, I was very, very much trying to convince my client that if the judge found the accused liable, she would be protected. 4 years later, he returned home and killed her. So to just say that we are protecting the vulnerable and women is not enough. By acting so fast, we will build a false idea in vulnerable groups that there is protection. There is not ever protection if the resources are not there to protect the women. Thank you, Senators.